Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're part of a professional team trying to drive a business forward, you already know the deal. Creating a winning marketing strategy, it's not just about coming up with clever campaigns or beautiful designs. It's really about understanding the massive, constantly shifting forces that dictate our business reality. So today, we're going to literally map out the strategic environments that decide whether our products succeed or absolutely fail. Grab your notes, get focused, and let's decode the ecosystem we're all operating in.
Let me kick things off with a pretty direct question for you. Is your team operating in a vacuum? It's a serious question, because honestly, way too often business units will sit in a closed boardroom, stare at their own product, obsess over their own budget, and just build a strategy as if the rest of the world completely doesn't exist. And let me tell you, attempting to strategize without analyzing external disruptions, well, it's exactly like flying blind in a hurricane. You might have a perfectly good plane, but if you don't understand the weather, you are going down.
So we need to define what we're actually dealing with here. What exactly is this weather? We call it the marketing environment. Now, don't let the term fool you. This isn't just some dry academic concept. This is the active battlefield where our daily marketing decisions live or die. It's the complete ecosystem of both internal and external forces that directly impact a business's ability to serve its customers and achieve strategic success. Simply put, if you can't read this environment, you absolutely cannot win the market.
Okay, let's look at our roadmap for today. We're going to dive into this strategic funnel in 4 steps. 1. Macro factors, the big picture. 2. Micro factors, your direct sphere. 3. The internal environment, the corporate core. And 4. Building your SWOT strategy.
Let's jump right into part 1, macro factors, the big picture.
So we begin at the very top of our strategic funnel with the macro environment. We're talking about 6 massive, totally uncontrollable societal forces shaping literally every single market on Earth. You can't stop them. Your only option as an organization is to anticipate them. We've got demographics. Think about how an aging population suddenly creates huge new demands for healthcare. We have economics, dictating purchasing power. Natural resources, where material shortages completely change the game. Then there's technology, politics and legal frameworks, and finally, cultural and social values. A shift in absolutely any of these 6 tectonic plates will fundamentally alter your strategic landscape overnight. Let's zoom in on one of those plates for a second. Technology, it's moving faster than anything else, right? And it brilliantly illustrates the duality of these massive forces. It can be an existential threat or a game-changing opportunity. Think back to the pandemic lockdowns. The physical world shut down, a catastrophic threat to traditional systems. But technology, specifically the internet, swooped in and essentially saved the entire education sector by fueling an absolutely massive boom in online learning. The strategic leaders who saw that tech shift as an opportunity, they thrived. The ones who fought it left in the dust.
Now, consider the cultural and social plate. Cultural values are deeply, deeply ingrained. We're not talking about passing trends here. These are traditions that predictably drive massive commercial behavior. A perfect example is the Lunar New Year, or Tet in Vietnam. The tradition of returning home to family is unbreakable. And as a marketing organization, you know this cultural force is going to create an incredible guaranteed surge in travel and shopping demand every single year. You don't create this demand, the macro environment does that for you. Your job is just to be perfectly positioned to capture it.
All right, moving down the funnel to part 2, micro factors, your direct sphere.
If the macro environment is the weather, think of the micro environment as your local neighborhood. These are the localized forces your business directly interacts with every single day, your immediate ecosystem. We're looking at 5 forces constantly interacting with your brand. You've got your suppliers, feeding you raw materials, your intermediaries, the brokers, logistics companies, marketing agencies, and banks, helping you actually move and sell. Then you have your customers, your competitors, and the broader public, which includes media and local government. And here's the brutal truth of it all. If your intermediaries fail, or if public perception suddenly turns sour over a bad media report, your carefully crafted marketing strategies will instantly collapse. You have to manage these relationships proactively. And we get starkly reminded of our vulnerabilities here all the time. The reality is, we are completely at the mercy of our suppliers. We saw this play out on a massive global scale recently when pandemic lockdowns completely paralyzed raw material shipments from major hubs in China and the West. I mean, businesses that relied entirely on a single stream suddenly found themselves with 0 product to sell, no matter how genius their marketing was. It really teaches us that a strategic organization has to constantly secure backup relationships and diversify those supply chains.
Okay, let's talk about competitors. I want you to completely rethink competition within this microsphere.
Who are your real competitors fighting for the exact same wallet? Because I promise you, your rival isn't always the business across the street selling the exact same thing. Sometimes your fiercest competitor is a completely different industry that just happens to satisfy the exact same underlying human need.
Let's actually break this down using a super simple real-world example. A 20,000 Vietnamese dong breakfast budget, mapped across 4 distinct arenas of competition. First, you compete on desire. Does the customer actually buy breakfast at all, or do they just save that 20K in their piggy bank? Second is the substitute. Okay, they want breakfast, but will they buy your banh mi, or will they go for a bowl of pho? Totally different products, but they fulfill the exact same morning hunger. Third is form. Let's say they chose banh mi, but do they want the meat version or the egg version? And finally, at the very top, we have brand competition. This is your direct rival warfare, like KFC battling Loteria and Jollibee for the exact same fried chicken customer. You've got to map out every single level of this battlefield to really know who you're up against.
Which brings us to part 3, internal environment, the corporate core.
So, having mapped the massive outside world and our immediate neighborhood, we now have to turn the mirror inward. Because, let's face it, all the external data in the world means absolutely nothing if your own house isn't in order. For any external marketing campaign to actually succeed out there in the wild, these internal pillars have to operate as one tightly unified machine. Step 1, your people, management, and staff must share the exact same vision. Step 2, your finances have to be secure and actually aligned with the strategy. Step 3, your machinery, technology, and production output must be optimized to deliver on your marketing promises. And Step 4, your internal policies must empower your team, not wrap them in red tape. If your marketing division promises rapid next-day delivery, but your operations team literally doesn't have the machinery to pull it off, your strategy just broke down from the inside out.
All right, our final stop, part 4, building your SWOT strategy.
We have covered a lot of ground today. We've analyzed the macro trends, the micro ecosystem, and our internal core. So, the million-dollar question. How does a strategic unit actually weaponize all of this environmental data? How do we turn observation into actual strategy? Well, you build a SWOT matrix. By analyzing your corporate core, you identify your internal factors. Those are your distinct strengths, what you naturally do better than anyone else, and your weaknesses, where you maybe lack resources or talent. Meanwhile, your external factors, all those massive macro and micro shifts we just talked about, they serve up your opportunities, like that tech boom for online learning, and your threats, like sudden supply chain failures. At the end of the day, strategy is really just the art of using your internal strengths to capitalize on external opportunities, while simultaneously protecting your internal weaknesses from external threats.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer today. Look, the business landscape out there is a living, breathing ecosystem, and it never, ever stops shifting. So my final question to you, as strategic leaders, is this. Armed with this new understanding of the macro, the micro, and your own internal core, how will your team adapt your internal strengths to conquer these shifting external environments tomorrow? I want you to take that question back to your boardrooms, analyze your forces, build your strategy, and go win your market. Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep learning out there.